Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives about what's going on at the companies. With us again, I'm happy to have him back, Paul Gill, CEO of Lomiko Metals. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol LMR. For our friends in the US, LMRMF, that's on the OTCQB. And for our friends in Germany and Europe, it's on the Frankfurt Exchange under DH8C. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, it's going to be a lot of you. Lomiko's focused on the exploration and development of minerals for the new green economy. Now, that sounds like a mouthful, but more than just lip service. Lomiko right now is in the midst of proving up a very high-grade graphite deposit. It's the Loutre flake graphite property that's 117 kilometers northwest of Montreal. We'll talk in a minute about why that's important. And it has an indicated resource of 18.4 million tons of 3.19%. That's just in the graphene battery zone. They got some other great drilling going on in the refractory zone that we'll talk about another time. But what we're talking about today is the fact that the Quebec Premier presented his electric vision of Quebec's green future. Here to talk about this, Paul. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks, George.
Hey, if I didn't know any better, all right, so the reason why I mentioned during the intro there that your La Loutre is 120 kilometers outside of Montreal. If I didn't know any better, I think that you either are the Premier of Quebec or you wrote this presentation that he made, to everybody in Quebec just this week. And I'm going to take the one big quote that summarizes what it's about, where he says, "Let's become the green battery of North America." I mean, that just must have blown you away. How big is a statement like that for Lomiko in general, given your high-grade graphite, but especially given the fact that the Loutre is right there, an hour away from where the Premier was making that statement?
It's absolutely huge news, George, and it's what it makes relevant what we've been saying all along. We knew that Quebec had lithium and graphite. It had it in spades. There's not just our properties that have graphite on them. There's other properties with graphite, and there's other properties with lithium. I think Quebec really has an opportunity here to seize the moment when it comes to the conversion of our internal combustion engines and our oil-based economy to a green and clean tech economy. I mean, just as we're talking today, we have BC also saying that they're going to go zero emissions by 2040. So with the kind of projects that are going to be coming on stream in Quebec, their focus is making them reducing oil impact, and that is sending a message throughout the entire length and breadth of Canada. And I think that there's the opportunity is just immense for Quebec in the next few years. I think investing in Quebec is a very smart move.
Yeah, in fact, he's saying he just wants to replace oil with electric. There are a number of initiatives in that plan. He's not just talking a big game. Look, he just got recently elected, so it's not as he's just talking a platform. But one of the initiatives that impacts Lomiko is, and again, I'm reading, so pardon me, but I want to read this excerpt. By far, the largest chunk of the plan is a massive investment in the electrification, specifically of public transportation systems. Now, to a lot of people, most people don't realize that what that really means is batteries are going to be playing a very important role in that strategy, because you need these, batteries and electric public transportation systems. You've been talking about your battery strategy all along. In fact, and so, in layman's terms, what is it about, La Loutre's graphite that plays right into this as far as this battery strategy?
Yeah, what we know is that there is various different types of battery systems out there that combine lithium and graphite and other types of materials. There's graphite ion batteries as well. There's different forms of batteries. But one of the key things that I took away from looking at the different types of batteries is that graphite is always going to be the anode in the system, meaning that the cathode is made of lithium and nickel perhaps, or it's made out of nickel or some other type of material. But the anode material, the thing that attracts the ions in a battery and makes the electricity flow, is going to be graphite. The only significant other type of material that can be used is lead. So we know that battery type is perfect. Now, of course, bus batteries are going to be bigger and have more energy than a car battery, so that's a different design. But so we can't exactly pick out which battery is going to be used, but we know that it's just like having your printer right now. The printer is only a vehicle for the materials that are in it, like the ink that goes into a printer. That's what's going to be important. We're going to have to replenish that material in the way of putting in new batteries and stuff like that on an ongoing basis. And that's really the design genius of electric vehicles. You don't get a lot of wear and tear on all the other parts, but the battery has to be replaced every 5 or 6 years. So not only is there an opportunity immediately as we're onboarding all of these new types of vehicles, but on an ongoing basis, the materials is a better bet than the car battery companies themselves.
So how does this, if at all, change your strategy in Quebec? Do you become much more PR focused, government lobby focused, in order to make sure now that they know that Lomiko is coming down the pipe and that you're right in their neighborhood?
Yeah, for years we have been in touch with Quebec representatives of the government and government agencies, SIDEX, Investment Quebec, and et cetera. And I'm going to be in Montreal next week and going to be meeting again with them. I think that's important to keep in touch. We have to get to a certain point of development, which is the pre-economic assessment, in order to really put our meal on the table and say, is this worthy of investment? And that endorsement is going to be very important for any company involved in these kind of battery related activities in Quebec, because government endorsement there means that you can really go out and raise a lot of funds out in the public, and the States is really taking off on this. They're really taking this to heart. And I see a lot of attention from the U.S. markets as well. So I think that we're only just at the start of this. I mean, we've been almost in a prelogue, within the last little while. But now, I mean, we're looking at a 20-year run for battery materials. I mean, that's going to make a lot of people a lot of money, and I'd love to be able to make a few more millionaires out there than we had with some of the copper projects we've done.
And you must get excited when he says, let's become the green battery of North America, because clearly that means he wants to, he wants to service the North American market as part of all this.
Yeah, that's it.
Support electricity in terms of either great batteries, great graphite, even their hydro dams. So that's going to be pretty exciting, because he's not just living this in North America, because he says that, greenhouse emissions affect everybody. And that's why he wants to make sure that Quebec is feeding North America. Yeah,
and I think when you look at it very carefully, what you see is that there is a lack of materials in North America, and that's why he's saying we want to become the green battery of North America. It dovetails very nicely with what U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski said a couple months ago in February, and what Benchmark Minerals reported to the U.S. Senate committee on mines and energy. We need to have development locally in North America, and I see that the Canada and U.S. are now aligning themselves and putting aside their own disputes to really focus on developing internal strategies for supplying the market for battery materials. I think they see what we see, what what we can honestly say is we saw this coming a long time before the U.S. Senate and the Quebec government.
Yeah,
So
you did say reliance on China was a mistake and could be
yeah,
dangerous at the end of the day.
yeah, and now we're seeing the giant wake up in a way, and that's huge because it means that we're going to try building those types of factories here in North America, and Quebec is in a perfect spot. I mean, if I had $100 million, I would build a lithium-ion battery factory in Quebec, right outside of Montreal, where the processing facilities are for Iles, where we can send the graphite there, get it processed. We can send the lithium down there to get processed outside of Montreal, and you supply your own battery factory right there. I mean, if there's a bunch of them being built in China, imagine if we had one right there in Quebec that could supply.
And I got to admit, Paul, you've been pretty prescient all this time about where the market was going to move and all these dynamics. You weren't just talking about supply and demand. You're talking about, the China dangers, things like that. So, hey, I wouldn't be surprised to hear an announcement like that, in the next, 6 to 12 months, or at least, that they're scoping that out, or because that would seem to make the next logical step, right? So I don't think you're far off. And let me ask you a question on that. For everyone at home, what's the timeline look like for Loutre to be in a position to capitalize on this? So how far away, generally speaking, how far are you away from being able to become an actual supplier?
Yeah, I think what's important to note right now is that in 2021, the big mine that's in Quebec, the only graphite mine in North America, the Iles carbon graphite mine, will have to close. We know that for a fact now.
Wow.
That's big. So they're going to need their material from somewhere. We are the closest graphite property to them, and that's huge. We're also closer to their battery or their graphite processing facility near the port of Montreal, and that's huge. So what we need to do is be able to be prepared and have the cake decorated and ready to eat for them by 2020, 2021. So we need to finish our reporting on our drilling. So we have 16 more holes to go. Those will be coming out. Should be pretty much adding more and more tonnage to the argument that we have, and probably defining a resource that's higher grade than the graphene battery zone. So we could essentially have 2 open pits, which is, I think, great. And then it's about doing that pre-economic assessment to discover what the value is. And then we've got a decision as to whether or not to be in the running to sell to Iles. And I think that we would be in a very good spot considering where we are and the fact that there's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be lost in 2021 that could just basically move over to our site.
So
all
just to go through those modules, you got drilling of the last 16 holes and release of those.
Just results. Just results. No drilling. Just results.
Right.
Resource.
Okay. Right, just the results. And then you're probably going to come out with a new resource estimate based on that. And then, so what does that timeline look for each of those ballpark?
Yeah, I mean, we've been coming out with we've got 5 drill holes that have been really, really good so far. And so we're going to see those rest of those 16 in the next month or so here and get into a resource, decide who's going to do the resource, decide who's going to do the pre-economic assessment, because those 2 have to line up pretty nicely. So considerations are, an international group or a local group, depending on what where the funding comes from. Really, it works either way. And then from there, what you do is you're able to look at environmental studies, metallurgical studies, graphite characterization, and then a very important aspect of it is conversion to spherical graphite. If we can get that down and if we can keep our costs within range, I mean, the end product of a graphite anode, which would go directly into a lithium-ion battery, that's a huge output. I mean, that'll be something worth 10,000 a ton versus selling the material at a lower point of 1,000 or 2,000 a ton, right?
last question on that. You feel pretty confident that you can get there? I know you can't say you're going to get there because you're not there yet, but you feel, or is that a major hurdle? Is that like, jumping to the moon kind of probability? Or I'm assuming you feel pretty comfortable and confident that you'll be able to get to that stage.
Yeah, we've got a stairway to heaven, pretty much. We just have to take the steps that we need to take.
Right.
And the biggest factor right now is getting support in the market and getting funds in. And I think over the summer here we've seen a little tail off in our market, so we have to pick that up. So we're certainly reaching out to groups in the States. Canadians are usually kind of doing their cottage time in June, July, and August, and you don't see much of them. But the States are still hopping. I mean, this is a story that has international implications. I think the battery technology story. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in Asia. People in Beijing are coughing up lungs on the street because it's so polluted there. Of course, they're going to go to batteries, and India is the same way, and they need to do conversion to electric vehicle batteries to save their environment, and not only their environment, their people, because I think it's getting so polluted with the internal combustion and the burning of coal and all the rest of it. We've got to fix that problem for them. So there's going to be demands on all of the graphite material, lithium material that's out there in the next 15, 20 years. So whatever we make, I think we'll be able to sell, and that's the bottom line. I think that we just have to stay the course, get it done. I'm here for the long term. I know what we have, and I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's crazy that the stock is trading at 4.5, 5 cents, but that's the way it is, and the opportunity is to those who are brave.
Yeah, and I want to tell everyone at home that this Paul isn't a Me Too, Lomiko isn't a Me Too company trying to hop on this. Paul and Lomiko have been at this for more than 10 years now, right on top of this. So they're early, they're ahead of it, but they've stayed the course. They're not changing. And now, Paul, when you got the Premier of Quebec saying we're going to be doing it big right here, let alone markets around the world that you're aiming for, that's pretty big. I'm going to ask you one last question. This one's probably the most critical question. We're taping this on a Friday. We were originally going to put this out on Sunday night for everyone to watch, but it's going to be game 2 of the NBA Finals. So we're releasing this on Monday. So for everyone at home, we already taped this on Friday. What do you think of how the Raptors played last night? How do you think they're going to do for the rest of the series?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll tell you, I was so impressed that they stopped any rally that Golden State. I've been watching Golden State. I've been watching the Raptors. They stopped any rally that would come from Golden State, and they stopped it cold with very, very tough defense. And they've played some very tough teams. Philadelphia and Milwaukee were very tough teams, and to see them go through those two was enough. But I think they've got the wherewithal and the guts and the toughness to get through Golden State as well. They weren't giving Curry any respect. Those guys got their shots off for sure, but they weren't giving them respect. And I think if I see at the end of game 2 that Lowry, Van Vliet, and Danny Green all have 4 fouls, I'm going to be a happy guy, because that means they've been harassing the shooters. And once you harass that flow of the shooters, you're going to be doing great. So I'm predicting Raptors win game 2, and then we'll see what happens in Golden State.
All right, I was about to ask you, give me your prediction, because it's going to be playing on Monday. Give me your prediction. Yeah. What's the score? Ballpark. What do you think they win by?
I think they win by 7. Win by 7. Say 97 to 90.
I think this game 2 goes into overtime or the last second, whatever it may be. Raptors win it, but it's either going to come down the last shot or it's going to go in overtime, and we're going to win it there. Thanks, Paul. Listen,
thanks, George.
Thanks for joining us. And again, I picked up a little Quebec accent in your voice there, so I'm thinking you might be the Premier of Quebec, because what he said was you must have been beaming from ear to ear when you saw that, and I congratulate you. You deserve that because of how long you've stuck with this vision and it seems to all be unfolding right in front of you. Can't wait to have you back after the next set of drill results are out and talk even more about what's going on with your high-grade graphite.
Yeah, well, we built it, and they're coming to us, is the way it looks like. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. You've been watching Paul Gill, CEO of Lomiko Metals, trades at the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol LMR, LMRMF in the U.S., and DHHC in Frankfurt. You've heard Paul. You've watched him. Seen how he tied in this Quebec, this very important 2030 Quebec initiative. Now, do your due diligence. Get to Agoracom, punch in the company's name or stock symbol. Take a look at the profile information, videos, everything you need to see. We also have the link to Lomiko's website. Do your due diligence. Take your time. You see that Paul and his group have been dedicated to this space for well over 10 years, and now it's all unfolding in front of them. And make sure to put them on a watch list, because they are going to be coming out drill results for these last 15, 16 holes, and you want to be on top of those because you want to see how those play out. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a fantastic day. Go Raptors. See you next time.
Go Raptors. Thanks, George.
Thank you, Paul.